Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of Economy this week, where we take up important economy-related articles from different newspapers and analyze these articles. I'll be covering the time period from 24th to 30th July 2025 in this video, and the six articles I'll be picking up for analysis are these. Before I start the discussion, two very important announcements. The first one, if you want to download the PPT as well as the notes on the topics that I'm covering in the session, all you need to do is join the Telegram channel. Once the session is over, the documents will be uploaded, download, and use it for your preparation purposes. Second one, I know a lot of you are aiming to clear the civil services examination in 26 or 2027. Ensure that you will have a very comprehensive coverage of the static syllabus. You will have a very good coverage of current affairs as well. And you will have sufficient practice by attempting multiple prelims as well as mains test series. If you enroll into our courses at a price of 19,999, all of these are available. You will get access to the classes not only in English medium, these are also available in Hindi as well as bilingual. And if you are someone who is working, not able to get sufficient time, you want to get access to recorded, once you enroll, even the recorded lectures are made available to you. But ensure that you will use the code IAS English. Once you use this particular code, you will also get an extension of up to 12 months free of cost. If you're someone who is interested, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. Let me start the discussion. The first very important article. Experts have recommended to the Commerce Ministry that they should not accept unilaterally framed obligation. Now, what is the discussion all about? In recent times, there has been a lot of discussion surrounding the concept of bilateral trade agreement. That is, two countries, India and USA, are involved for multiple months now in negotiating a very comprehensive trade agreement. Very often you will come across this discussion in the newspaper. Now it is said that the other side, that is the USA, the negotiators from the other side, that is from the USA, they have proposed one provision in this particular trade deal, which many of the experts are advising Government of India not to accept. In addition to this, there are multiple points of disagreement. But the point which has been discussed in this article is the idea that once India will sign this particular agreement, in the future, the Government of India will not be allowed to impose any kind of digital taxes. Let me give you a basic idea associated with this. Back in the year 2016, the Government of India made a provision, introduced a provision in the Finance Act. Under this particular provision of the Finance Act, Government of India introduced the concept of Equalisation Levy. Equalisation Levy. In short, this will be written as EL. Now, what is this idea of an equalization levy? There are certain service providers, online service providers, such as, let's say Meta, earlier Facebook, or for that matter, let's say YouTube. These kind of online service providers provide advertisement services in India. They will provide advertisement services to, let's say, some of the companies in India, and they will basically collect a certain amount of money. In simple terms, these foreign entities, I will start using a technical term now, non-resident companies, non-resident service providers. What do you mean by non-resident here? These entities are not registered in India for the purposes of paying taxes on the profits they are generating by providing services to Indian consumers. So in this example, let's say Meta will provide advertisement services to a company. They will collect the revenue. But when it is a question of paying taxes, they do not pay the taxes on this revenue in India. And their argument will be, we are not resident companies in India. And because we are non-resident companies, we will generate revenue, but no, please don't ask us taxes on the revenue we will not pay to Government of India. But on the other side, what if there is a resident company which is providing a similar service? Same, let's say, advertisement services. So these resident companies will pay taxes, non-resident companies will not be paying taxes. In order to address this kind of an issue, that is the dissimilarity between the treatment of a resident as well as a non-resident company, the government of India introduced the provision in the Finance Act and thereby introduced the concept of equalization levy. Now, these companies, which were non resident companies, mind you, the equalization levy is applicable to non resident companies. These companies, whenever they provided, let's say, certain services to the Indian clients, Indian companies, they were supposed to collect a certain amount of money. Whatever was the total consideration, 6% of that would be given to the government of India. This was basically the concept of equalization levy. And this was applicable whenever the services, the consideration for the services, that is simply the charges on the services, were more than 1 lakh rupees. Now, the impact of this has been that the government of USA, that is the administration in USA, the current one, the previous one, and even the first tenure, during the first tenure of Mr. Donald Trump between 2016 to 2020, the government or the administration USA have raised concern against this practice of government of India. In addition to this, there is one more very important thing that has happened. More than 100 countries have come together. They have agreed to a new type of a framework, that is BEPS, base erosion and profit shifting. Under that, there is the concept of global minimum corporate tax, under which there are two pillars. One pillar basically will talk about, right, taking part of the revenues and giving it to the countries from where you have generated revenues. And the second pillar under the global minimum corporate tax, that is a BEPS 2.0, talks about having an effective minimum corporate tax of at least 15% on these multinational enterprises. So the argument is, on one side, the administration of USA is unhappy with India. In fact, they conducted investigations and they argued that these kind of taxes which are imposed by multiple countries are against the interest of American companies, and they are harming the American companies. In addition to this, India has already been a part of the base erosion and profit shifting BEPS action framework. It is also the signatory. Again, it has accepted, not yet implemented, the two pillar solution under GMCT. In addition to all of this, the government of India in 2020 proposed Digital Services Tax, DST, Digital Services Tax, which was basically applicable at 2% on the e-commerce companies which are non-resident Indian companies. So these are the very important points associated with the concept of digital taxes. Now, what is being discussed in the article? Like I said, there is a trade negotiation which is happening between India as well as USA. And mind you, USA is a very important trading partner for us. It is one of the major economies. Obviously, we want to export goods and services to this country. And not to forget, out of the major trading partners, if you take the top 10 countries who are the trading partners of India, it is with this country, that is the USA, with whom we have a trade surplus. Right? For many years, we have enjoyed trade surplus with USA. And that is the precise reason why we are negotiating a trade agreement with USA. It is said that the side, I'm just repeating what I said in the beginning, the side, that is the USA negotiators, have proposed a provision under which once India will sign the agreement in future, they will not be able to impose these kind of digital taxes. Why there is a opposition? Why India should not accept this kind of a framework? Point number one, the experts have pointed out that this proposal which has been put forward, it is an unilateral proposal. What do you mean by an unilateral proposal? USA wants us to commit that in future we are not going to impose any kind of digital taxes. I'm using the term digital taxes. Globally, the term that is used is Google taxes. So USA wants us to commit and say that in future we are not going to announce any kind of digital taxes. But are they willing to take the same kind of commitment? No. It is a unilateral provision which they want only India to accept. Second one, which is a very, very important point as well, the right to impose taxes is a sovereign right. And government of India very often has stood by this argument. Not only in this context, in case of other companies a tax dispute as well. The government of India simply says it is a sovereign right, that is my right to decide and impose taxes. I should not be bound by any other consideration. If I want to impose taxes, I should have the right to impose as well as collect the right amount of taxes. So if government of USA will insist on this, India will accept this kind of a provision. Don't you think this is against sovereignty? That is the power or sovereign power to impose and collect taxes. So these kind of arguments have been put forward by various experts. What their argument is very simple. India should not accept this provision. They should not accept this provision. This is not in favor. This is not in interest of India. Right? So these are certain very important points associated with this particular article. Based on this, let's solve an MCQ. And those who want to solve on their own, hit the pause button, solve the question, and then listen to the key discussion. If not, continue, don't hit the pause, watch the solution to this particular question. Consider the following statements regarding the equalization levy. It is applicable to all the online advertisement service providers. Is it applicable to all the service providers in India? No, only non-resident. Underline that particular term. It is applicable on all the payments received by these particular companies? No, that is also not true. Even if you are covered under this, the consideration should have to be more than 1 lakh rupees. It was introduced by amending the Income Tax Act of 1961. Please remember, this was not introduced by amending the Income Tax Act. No provision amending the IT Act of 1961. In fact, Government of India, like I said earlier, introduced this as a provision in the Finance Act of 2016. Finance Act of 2016. All the three statements are incorrect. Right option for this question will be none of the statements. Let me go to the second article now. Strict action for forced sale of nano fertilizer. There has been a letter which has been sent by the Union government, that is a ministry under the Union government, Ministry of Agriculture, to all the state governments to ensure that there is no tagging, there is no forced sale of the fertilizers. Now, what is the issue all about? What is the discussion all about? There are two very important aspects which have been covered in the article or discussed that you need to understand. One is the concept of nano fertilizer, and the second one, the concept of biostimulants. Biostimulants. Now, what is this idea of a nano fertilizer? Liquid fertilizer, which is available in the domestic market. For example, you must have heard of nano urea. This is nothing but a liquid fertilizer. And this is produced in India by a company, cooperative company such as IFCO. And traditionally, when you look at the farmers using fertilizer, traditionally they have been using solid, physical, crystalline fertilizers. Now, instead of using the traditional fertilizers, which India imports from rest of the world, there is huge amount of subsidy that is provided on these crystalline fertilizers, etc. The government of India has been promoting more production and consumption of nano fertilizers. But the issue is that all the farmers are not on board. All the farmers, whenever they want to use a fertilizer, they are not accepting and utilizing nano fertilizers. Now, the issue that has been raised in the article is multiple complaints have been filed to the Ministry of Agriculture, stating that in states, the sellers, that is the retailers, when the farmer will go to the shop to purchase this particular fertilizer, the retailer is forcing the farmers to purchase nano fertilizer along with the normal fertilizer. What do you mean by the normal fertilizer? The farmer will also purchase other type of fertilizer. For example, it could be diammonium phosphate. And in case of diammonium phosphate, a muriate of potash, or for that matter, even the crystalline urea, there is a concept of subsidization, especially for urea. There is this idea of a subsidization. Government of India ensures that urea is available in the market at very, very less prices because government of India provides huge amount of a subsidy on it. Is it good? There is a positive aspect of this as well as a concerning aspect as well. But the argument of the farmers is, if I go to the shop, if I want to purchase a subsidized fertilizer, let's say I want to purchase urea. Now the retailer is not simply selling me urea at a subsidized price. No, the retailer or the shopkeeper is simply telling me, if you want a subsidized fertilizer, along with that, you'll also have to purchase a nano urea. You'll also have to purchase a nano urea, and there is one more, biostimulants. I'll come to this. Right? This is basically the concept of a tagging. Right? I am not allowed to purchase only the subsidized fertilizer. I'm being forced to purchase along with the subsidized the other fertilizers such as biostimulant as well as a nano fertilizer. The ministry, that is the union government, simply says this is not correct. This is not correct. The states should ensure this kind of a tagging is not practiced by the shopkeepers. Reason being, remember this, fertilizer is classified as an essential commodity. Please remember this. Fertilizer is classified as an essential commodity. In addition to being classified as essential commodity, there is also concept of Fertilizer Control Order, FCO. And the government simply says, under these kind of provisions, there is no concept of bundling the products. You cannot prohibit the farmer from purchasing only the subsidized fertilizer. You cannot tag the fertilizer along with the non-subsidized fertilizer and force the farmer to purchase both of them. That's the reason the ministry has sent a letter to all the states asking them to ensure this practice will be discontinued. Now, there is also a concept of biostimulants. I mentioned the term called as biostimulants. In multiple newspapers, there has been a discussion associated with biostimulants. What is a biostimulant? It is basically a material, living or non-living, right? It's a material which will stimulate the growth, which will basically promote production, which will stimulate the growth. For example, many of the times you must have heard of bacterias, which are used right in the farming sector to promote, to basically increase the production in order to increase the absorption, etc., etc. So argument is there are biostimulants, and in case of India, please remember, until very recently the biostimulants were not covered under any of the provisions. Whereas historically there has been a production of huge quantity of biostimulants, and the sale of the biostimulants also has happened unabated. The government of India in recent times has basically brought in biostimulants under the coverage of Fertilizer Control Order. There is also a committee which has been set up to evaluate, right, what is the importance of biostimulants. Is it useful or not? Because the farmers, if they are said, right, basically, let's say somebody will go to the farmer and say, biostimulants will help in increasing your production, increasing your productivity. Lot of the farmers are gullible. They will end up purchasing these biostimulants. They will end up right, spending a lot of money on all of this. But what is the effectiveness? Are the biostimulants going to contribute to higher production or not? The studies have to be conducted. Approval has to be provided. That's the reason the minister very recently has stated there is an unregulated sale of biostimulants in India. And whether these biostimulants should be allowed to be sold in the market or not, let's have a scientific approach to it. Let's conduct studies. Let the authorities conduct a survey. Let them come to a conclusion whether the biostimulants, in fact, are useful for the farmers or not at all useful. Based on that, we will either allow the continuation or we will continue the sale of this, or we'll simply prohibit the sale of biostimulants. So these are the two very important points which have been discussed in this article associated with, right, let's say the sale or the tagging of biostimulants as well as subsidized fertilizer whenever it is sold with non-subsidized, the sale of a subsidized fertilizer whenever it is sold to the farmer. Right, so based on this, I've given an MCQ here. Let's solve the MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding biostimulants. These are regulated under Fertilizer Control Order, FCO. Yes, that is true. Only living organisms are used as a biostimulants and are types of fertilizer. This statement is correct, incorrect. Living organisms as well as a non-living material also can be used as biostimulants. So based on this, the right option for this question will be option A, only one is correct. Let me go to the next article now. Government extends deadline for smart meter installation by 2 years. What is the importance of the article? Let me explain this. The government of India earlier implemented an initiative by the name of Uday, Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana. The objective of Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana was that many of these discoms, which are majorly owned by the state governments, are incurring losses. Their finances are not healthy. In order to revamp, basically restructure and ensure they will become healthier in terms of finances, the government of India implemented Uday Yojana. But because under Uday Yojana, there was no condition, there were no conditions imposed by the government to get access to assistance, the implementation of the Uday Yojana was not very effective. And that's the reason government of India withdrew Uday Yojana and in place of Uday Yojana implemented one more initiative by the name of RDSS, Revamped Distribution Sector Scheme. I'll repeat the full form, Revamped Distribution Sector Scheme. This initiative is being implemented from 21-22 to 25 and 26. Right? Totally for these particular years, that is from 21-22 to 25 and 26, this initiative was announced to be implemented. Now Government of India simply says it will be extended by 2 more years, that will be till 28. This is point number 1. Point number 2, how is RDSS different compared to the earlier initiative? Point number 1, RDSS has basically subsumed multiple types of other initiatives of the government in the power sector. For example, earlier Government of India had an initiative called as Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana that has been brought under this RDSS itself. So multiple types of initiatives which were earlier implemented individually as reforms, they have been subsumed under RDSS. That is first very important point. Second very important point, under RDSS, the amount of incentives or amount of assistance that the government will provide is conditional in nature. Please remember, it is conditional in nature. What do you mean by conditional in nature? Under this, the states will have to put up their own targets. They'll have to submit certain targets they want to meet every year. And if they do not meet these particular targets, a certain amount of assistance that the government would provide, government will be stopping that provision of assistance. So it is a conditional type of an initiative where the governments, that is the state governments to be very specific here, will have to meet targets. And in addition to this, there are other targets as well. For example, there is a type of losses incurred by the discoms by the name of AT&C losses, aggregate technical and commercial losses. It has to be reduced to certain level. There is also a problem called as ACS and ARR gap. What is ACS? Average cost of supply. And what is ARR? Average revenue realized. What price do you pay to supply 1 unit of electricity? How much price do you collect when you supply 1 unit of electricity? In lot of these particular states, the average cost of supply is greater compared to average revenue realized. Meaning what? They are spending more money to supply 1 unit of electricity compared to every rupee that they collect, or how much money they collect for every unit of electricity supplied. That is contributing to lower revenues of the discoms. Profitability is lesser. Lot of these discoms are incurring losses. So targets have been given under RDSS. But come to the point now, most important target associated with this article is that under RDSS, we are supposed to implement smart meters. We are supposed to implement smart meters. Initially under RDSS, because it was supposed to be implemented till 25, we had set up a target of installing 25 crore smart meters. 25 crore smart meters. And like I said, initially the target was 25 and 26. Now this has been expanded, right? It shall be implemented till 28. The target year for implementation of this has been expanded till 2028. That is, extension of 2 years has been provided. But a very important point to be noted here is one, what is the smart meter? Unlike earlier meters, where you must have seen there will be a disk inside the meter that will be rotating, and the electric people, that is, people from the discoms, will come to your home. They will basically give you a bill based on what is the reading in the meter. Unlike those kind of mechanical meters, the smart meters are nothing but digital meters. The digital meters will basically help the discom in ensuring there is no power theft. There is absolutely no power theft because the reading will be much better. You can't tamper this kind of a smart meter, unlike, let's say, the earlier meters, which were, right, let's say, mechanical meters. Second, in terms of efficiency of billing, what is the meaning of efficiency of billing? Lot of times the bills would be given to you based on an estimate of how many units you have consumed. Under this, exact unit of consumption will be recorded and the bills would be given. So the government of India is promoting the implementation of smart meters to ensure that better recovery in the sense here, whatever money you have spent to supply electricity, you'll be able to collect that money, right? So efficiency in billing will increase, theft would be addressed, etc. So keeping that in mind, government is targeting 25 crore, right, smart meters to be installed. What is the status as of now? The government data simply says around 20.33 crore smart meters have been approved, right? These are the number of smart meters which have been approved. Out of this, 2.4 crore smart meters have been installed. The number is very small compared to the target, right? We want to achieve 25 CR, but how many we have installed so far? 2.4 CR. More than 20 have been approved. The reason for this kind of a delay is said to be one, these are new types of meters. Adoption of this or adoption of these kind of smart meters will take some time. It will take some time. Second, you need to create a new system of basically calling for bidding. Somebody has to install this. So you'll have to call for the bids. You'll have to, right, give out the contracts. It will also take some time. But in addition to this, many experts have argued the acceptability of the smart meters has been poorer, has been weaker from the consumer side. In many of the households where the smart meters have been installed, the consumers have seen there is a sudden spike in the electricity bills. And that is the reason in many of the places when there is an installation of a smart meter, there have been oppositions to the installation of smart meters. So there are multiple reasons as to why the implementation of this particular project has been on a slower side. But the government of India simply says, overall, we will be able to get the benefit of installing these 25 crore smart meters. We will go ahead, we will extend the time period, and we will implement these particular smart meters. Right? So based on this discussion, I've given a question here. Let's solve the question. Consider the following statements regarding revamped distribution sector scheme. The time period for this is co-terminus with the 16th Finance Commission. Co-terminus means what? The time period for which the scheme is implemented is the same as time period for 16th Finance Commission. Do you think it is co-terminus? No, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. Under this, the funding is unconditional. Unconditional means what? Government will provide the funds to you irrespective whether you meet the target or not. In fact, here, unconditional means absolutely no condition. The funds would be given for you to implement the scheme. No, RDSS cannot be said unconditional. It is a conditional initiative. Both the statements are incorrect. Right option for this question will be option D. None of the statements are correct. Now let me go forward. Next article. new cooperative policy violates constitution, says Samyukt Kisan Morcha. Now, what are the important points? Let me make you understand this. Point number one, there is this concept of cooperative. What do you mean by a cooperative? Cooperative basically is a group of 10 or more than 10 adults who have come together to achieve a common objective. They want to achieve a common objective, so they have come together. This is called as a cooperative. They are registered as a cooperative. Now, if this cooperative is present only in one state, the state government will set up or has the registrar of cooperative societies. They will come under the state RCS. But this cooperative is present in multi states or multiple states. The central government has a register of cooperative societies. It will come under the central government's RCS. In addition to this, cooperatives, please remember, is a collective model. That is, individuals come together, form a collective where, right, every individual is given the same right to vote. Each person will have one vote. One person, one vote is the theme of a cooperative. Cooperatives are present in multiple industries, multiple sectors in India. We have cooperatives in fertilizers. We have cooperatives in sugar. We have cooperatives in milk. Best example, Amul or Nandini, right, etc. So cooperatives are present in multiple areas, including banking as well. Historically, if you see, the cooperatives are being promoted even before independence in India. The most very important, or let's say the most important legislation before independence, in fact, the first one which recognized cooperative was the Cooperatives Act back in the year 1904. After that, multiple times there has been a variation of the Cooperatives Act, but post independence, cooperatives have been focused in planning as well. And especially in the last 2.5 decades, the governments at the center, at the union level, have implemented multiple types of policies to promote cooperatives. For example, back in 2002, when Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government was there, the government announced a national policy for cooperatives. Government introduced a Multi-State Cooperatives Act. In 2011, we amended the Constitution of India, that is 97th CAA, gave a constitutional status recognition to these cooperatives. 2023, right, the Multi-State Cooperatives Act was proposed. And now in 2025, this is important, 2025, a new national policy has been announced by Ministry of Cooperation. In fact, this Ministry of Cooperation is also a new ministry which was set up in 2021. Earlier, it was part of Ministry of Agriculture. Now, it has been set up as a separate ministry, right? Hardly it's been 4 years. So, multiple reforms have been implemented to promote operation of the cooperatives in India. And mind you, we need very well functioning cooperatives. We require these cooperatives. Reason being, cooperatives are present in agriculture, I said. They contribute to production in agriculture. They contribute, right, to exports. They contribute to employment generation. They contribute, right, to fertilizer production, milk production, as well as the distribution, etc. So, at the lowest level, essentially the farmers, the low income households are participating in the cooperatives. They are getting the benefit of being a part of cooperatives. And that's the reason under the new policy, what is a proposal? Under the new policy, what is a proposal? The proposal is one, we want to triple the contribution to GDP in the next 10 years from cooperatives. What is the contribution of cooperatives now to GDP? We want to triple it in the next 10 years. Second, right now around 300 million people in India are part of cooperatives. We want to increase it to 500 million. We want to increase it to 500 million. We want to set up a task force. We want to set up a task force to identify what are the concerns, what are the challenges faced by the cooperatives. And the task force will also recommend what changes should be introduced. Point number 4, we also want to ensure that the cooperatives at the national level, there will be a bank to promote cooperatives. Because mind you, at the lowest level, we have PSCS, Primary Agriculture Credit Societies. The number of PSCS is good one, that is a large number, but the functioning has been a problem. The performance has been a problem. So we want to set up a bank at the national level to basically enhance the performance of the lowest level cooperatives in the financing. So these are some of the very important, again, some of the very important provisions of the new National Cooperative Policy 2025. And against this particular policy, there is a criticism now. What are the criticisms? One, it will violate the concept of federalism that we are following, because the cooperatives are present at the state level, cooperatives present at the central level. If the central government will announce this kind of a policy, don't you think it will hinder the participation, the promotion done by the state governments to promote the cooperatives? So multiple criticisms have been levied. Second, is it that the government of India is bringing corporatization again in agriculture sector by implementing this kind of a policy? Because I said multiple other provisions are there. We want to digitize cooperatives. We want to promote, right, the formation of these cooperatives. We want to promote organic branding. That is, there is a proposal called as Bharat, right? So Bharat branded products of cooperatives, right, should be sold, etc. So are we basically promoting the backdoor entry of the corporates in the cooperatives, that is specifically in the agriculture sector? Right? So these are some of the concerns which have been raised, or the criticisms which have been leveled against the new cooperative policy 2025. Now let me go forward. Next important article, the public sector banks, some of them have sought 1 year extension to comply with shareholding norm. What is this idea? Let me explain this. Whenever any company is listed in the stock market, SEBI, which is the market regulator, has a norm by the name of minimum public shareholding. I'll repeat, minimum public shareholding. Under minimum public shareholding, any company that gets listed, 25% of the shares have to be given to the other investors. That is, the promoters cannot have 75% ownership, right? More than that, they cannot hold. It has to be issued to other investors, right? For example, retail investors such as you and me. Now, in context of the public sector banks, in the context of public sector banks such as, please have a look at the names here, Indian Overseas Bank, UCO Bank, Punjab and Sindh Bank, Central Bank of India, Bank of Maharashtra, etc. These are public sector banks and these are listed. So when you look at these kind of public sector banks and these are listed, look at the equity, look at the ownership held by Government of India in these particular banks. You will see the ownership is more than 75%. And generally, when these are public sector banks or entities owned by the government, the SEBI provides an exemption. Normally, the rule is nothing more than 75. You can't hold 75 or more than 75. But in case of the entities owned by the government, there is an exemption. There is essentially an carve out which is provided. Now, for these public sector banks, August 2026, that was a target period, by the way. August 2026 was given as a target date, and by August 2026, they were supposed to reduce the ownership of the government in these PSBs. How? There is a method that I've discussed in the earlier Economy This Week sessions as well, by the name of Qualified Institutional Placement, QIP, Qualified Institutional Placement. Earlier, in the context of State Bank of India, we had discussed QIP. These banks are supposed to go for QIP, under which they will basically sell the shares. They will sell the shares instead of issuing to the public, rather than going for an FPO. They will sell these shares to, let's say, institutions. What kind of institutions? Let's say mutual fund companies, insurance companies, pension fund companies, etc. So when these entities, that's public sector banks, conduct QIP, sell the shares to institutions, can I simply say, because the number of shares in the market will increase and now the ownership of government of India will start falling down. All of you are able to understand the ownership of government of India in this instance will start falling down. Again, please be very careful. I am not saying government of India is selling the shares here. I am not saying government is selling the ownership in these entities. No. I am saying when the company will conduct a QIP, that is, a bank will conduct a QIP, it will issue additional shares to other investors. As a result of this, the pool of the shares, the total number of shares in the market will increase. Government of India will continue to own the same number of share, but the percentage will automatically go down. And this will help essentially in reducing the percentage ownership to below 75%. So these entities were supposed to conduct these measures by August 2026. Now they have approached Finance Ministry, specifically under the Finance Ministry, Department of Financial Services, and have sought an extension of another year to ensure the ownership of Government of India will go down below 75%. That is essentially the update associated with this article. Next article, and by the way, the last article in this session, simple factual information. The Sagarmala Financial Corporation Limited. Please remember this. Sagarmala Financial Corporation Limited, Sagarmala Fincorp. This is the first maritime NBFC. I repeat, this is the first maritime NBFC. What do you mean by maritime NBFC? You have NBFCs in India. It's very common. More than 10,000 NBFCs are there. But in case of maritime, for example, investing in port projects. So for maritime, this is the first NBFC which has been set up and the approval has been given by Reserve Bank of India, RBI. Because I hope you know this. If not, now you know. If you want to set up an NBFC, you want to collect a deposit, you want to issue bonds, you want to lend money, etc., you need a certification from Reserve Bank of India. So the license, or let's say the certification, has been provided by RBI this year only. And this maritime NBFC by the name of Sagarmala Fincorp is planning to raise 4,000 crore rupees in the coming days, using which they want to invest in different types of port infrastructure projects. Right, so this is just a factual information. Please remember this information. Question can be asked in the preliminary examination on this kind of a concept. So these are the various articles I wanted to cover in today's session. Now coming to the last part of the discussion, assignment. Right, and again I basically I'm telling you this. Practice mains answer writing from today. And lot of you keep on saying we don't have resources to practice answer writing. Here is basically an article. Read the article and then attempt the question. And don't worry, some of you will basically say, sir, the article is not clear in the picture. Download this PPT. Once you download the PPT, you can basically magnify and read the article very easily. It will be a very clear picture there. So what is the question? Question is, very recently there has been a lot of discussion associated with insolvency and bankruptcy code. No doubt, IBC since 2016, that is since its implementation, has been a very good reform to address the non-performing asset issues in India. But at the same point of time, there are certain flaws, there are certain issues of concern regarding the functioning of IBC, specifically with NCLT itself, National Company Law Tribunal. So in this article, what are the issues of NCLT have been discussed? What should be done has been discussed. Now look at the question. Discuss the reforms needed at the NCLT level to make the insolvency regime much more effective. 15 marker question for 250 words. Download, read, and then attempt the question. Let me go forward with the second assignment. Very recently, you must have seen USA is signing trade agreements. And these trade agreements are bilateral, that is between two countries. India is signing trade agreements. We signed trade agreement with UK. Earlier, we signed trade agreement with Australia. We have signed trade agreement with right South Korea. Again, earlier, not now. Argument of this article is rather than having bilateral trade agreements, it is always better to have a trade agreement with group of countries, multilateral trade agreements. Right? It is always effective. Much efficient outcomes can be observed when more countries are present in a trade agreement rather than only two countries. Now, look at the question that I've given here. There has been a renewed focus on entering the bilateral trade agreements. However, these trade agreements work better for a group of countries rather than two countries. Elaborate 15 marker question in 250 words. Please download the PPT, read the article, and then attempt the answer to this particular article. So that's it from my side in this particular session. Next week, again, we will meet. I'll bring out many more important articles from different newspapers. And meanwhile, if you like this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. Provide your feedback in the form of comments in the section below. And if you're yet to join our YouTube channel, do not forget, hit the like button and join our YouTube channel right now. Thank you. Have a great day.